Radhe Radhe. Welcome to Journey to the Supreme. Guys, I have decided to give Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 1 shloka number 7 to 22 explanations in one video only. Because in these shlokas we don't have important and broad explanations. The explanations are very short. So it's better to give this in one video rather than posting different videos. But yes, from chapter 1 shloka number 23 onwards, I'll definitely post separate videos on each verse, as from then we will have the most awaited questioning section of Arjuna. And gradually the essence of Bhagavad Gita, the conversation between the Supreme Lord and Arjuna, will soon begin. Guys, it is going to be a long video, but please do watch it. Because if you don't watch it, then you will not be able to understand the situation of the battlefield of Mahabharata. Before starting, if you are new to this channel and hasn't subscribed it yet, please subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update. So I am starting with chapter 1 shloka number 7. Asmakam tu vishishta ye tan nibodha dvijottama nayaka mama saivnyasya samjnartham tan bhavimite. Translation. But for your information, O based of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Up to the previous sloka, we have seen Duryodhana was telling the names of the great warriors present in the Pandava army. But in this sloka, Duryodhana introduces the captains who are leading their Kaurava army. Dronacharya was a teacher of military science, but he was not really a warrior. So Duryodhana even doubted the capability of his own teacher. Thus here he addresses him as Dvijottama, which means best among the Brahmins, to remind him that he was the best Brahmin but not the best warrior. Thus in this shloka Duryodhana starts to tell about the great warriors in their army. Now I am moving towards sloka number 8. Bhavan bhishmascha karnascha kripascha samitim jaya ashwathama vikarnascha saumadattis tathaivacha. Translation. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna and the son of Somdat called Bhurishrava who are always victorious in battle. In this sloka, Duryodhana mentions the great heroes present in the Kaurava army. They are the great grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, Bhishma Pitamaha, Karna the half-brother of Arjuna as he was born of Kunti before her marriage with King Pandu. Other than Karna and Bhishma, there were Vikarna, the brother of Duryodhana, Ashwathama, the son of Dronacharya, the Bhurishrava, the son of the king of the Bahalikas. Duryodhana was feeling very proud on spelling the names of the great warriors present in their army. Now I am moving towards sloka number 9. Anye cha bahava sura mat arthe tyakta jivita nana shastra praharana sarve yuddha visaradha. Translation. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in military science. Now I am explaining it. As I have already said, these shlokas are way too similar. So here Duryodhana just mentions other heroes, probably he is mentioning Jayadratha, Kritavarma and Salya. So here we can see that Duryodhana is feeling very proud. He is sure of his victory due to great warriors present in their sides. Due to some fake material bondages or senses of duty, many people who were actually righteous or good in nature had unwillingly joined the Kaurava. They knew it perfectly that they are supporting adharma and their defeat is already destined, but we can say that they were binded by their beliefs and so they have to do it. Thus ends the explanation of shloka number 9. Now I will explain sloka number 10. Aparyaptam tad asmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tivi idam itesham balam bhima virakshitam. Translation: Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. In this sloka, Duryodhana again shows his pride by telling that their power is immeasurable, as they are protected by Bhishma Pitamaha, one of the great warriors. Duryodhana also says that the strength of the Pandavas was limited, as it was guarded by Bhima, who is younger than Bhishma in age as well as in experience. Thus, he was so overconfident about his victory. Now I am moving towards sloka number 11. Ayanesu cha sarvesu yatha bhagam avastita Bhishmam eva virakshantu bhavanta sarva eva hi. Translation: All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. In this sloka, Duryodhana urges all the Kaurava generals to give full support to Bhishma in the battle. He was sure that Bhishmadev would fully try to make the Kauravas win. Now, it's my turn to explain shloka number 12. These slokas are very short. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simhanadam vinadochi sankham dadma prapavan. Translation: Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. In sloka number 12, we can observe that the great grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, Bhishma Pitamaha, is blowing his conch shell very loudly, which was making a great vibration. Bhishma knew it very well that he was taken by the side of Adharma, and he also knew that Adharma never wins. He was sure that as the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas and the Pandavas were representing Dharma, it was sure that they will only win the battle. But still, for the sake of his duty towards Hastinapur, he continued to give support to the Kauravas. The blowing of the conch shell signaled that the epic war was going to begin. Now, the next sloka. Sloka number 13. Tatha shankhascha vedyascha panavanaka gomukha sahasraibhabha ananta sa sabdastumulo bhavat. Translation: After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. This sloka is very simple, only we can imagine how the earth was trembling as all the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, horns, which signaled that it's going to be the greatest epic war. The beginning of the war was so grand, then just imagine how grand the war would be. Though a war always brings destruction, but the battle of Mahabharata was really necessary to make the world understand the power of righteousness. Now, shloka number 14. Sloka number 14. Tatha svetar hayar yukte mahati syandani sthita madhava pandavas chaiva divya sankha pradatmahu. Translation: On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. This sloka mentions our beloved, the Supreme Lord Madhava. Here the name Madhav is significant. Madhav refers to the consort of Mahalakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Here the name Madhava is significant because we know that the goddess of fortune is always with her husband Vishnu. So as the goddess of fortune is present with Krishna, it was sure that the Pandavas will be the fortunate ones to win the battle. Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yasam Pakshe Janati. Victory is always on the side where Krishna is present. Coming back to the sloka, here the all-pervading Lord, present as the charioteer of Arjuna along with Arjuna himself, is blowing their divine and transcendental conscience in their great chariot drawn by divine white horses. Now, shloka number 15. Shloka number 15. Panchajanmyam Rishikeshu Devadattam Dhananjaya Pondram Dadmau Mahasankham Bhima Karma Vrikodatha. Translation. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanma, Arjuna blew the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pondra. In this verse, Lord Krishna has been referred as Rishikesha, which means the owner of all senses. The Supreme Lord is the owner of the senses of all living beings. He controls everyone sitting in our hearts as Paramatma or Supreme Soul. In this battlefield also he is controlling the senses of each and every warrior. Thus, this particular name has been used here. Throughout Gita, we will see that in different verses Krishna has been addressed by different names according to the situation. So here Krishna blows his divine conch shell Panchajanam. Arjuna here referred to as Dhananjaya blew his conch shell Devadatta, and Bhima, who has a voracious eater and also performed Herculean tasks, blow his terrific conch shell called Pondra. Thus ends shloka number 15. Now I will explain shloka number 16 to 18 as they are very simple and these shlokas have been merged together. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira Nakula Sahadevascha Sughosha Mani Pushpaka Kashyascha Parameshvasa Shikhandi cha Maharatha Rishtadumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajita Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasa Prithiripate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Sankham Dadmau Prithak Prithak. Translation. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Ananta Vijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva blew his Sughosha and Mani Pushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikhandi, Drishtadumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the mighty son of Drupad, also blew their respective conch shells. In this sloka, just we can observe that Yudhishthira, the eldest brother of Pandavas, who is also known for his truthfulness, blows his conch shell called Ananta Vijaya. Then Nakula, Sahadeva blew their conch shells Muni Pushpak and Sughosha. Kashiraj, Shikhandi, Drishtadumna, Virata, Satyaki, Drupad, the sons of Draupadi. Everyone is blowing their respective conch shells. Now sloka number 19. Saghosho Thartarastaram Hridayani Vyadarayat Nabhascha Prithivim Chaiva Tumulo Vyanunandayam. The translation. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. Now I am explaining it. Through this sloka, we can learn a big lesson. In this particular verse, it has been said that when the warriors on the side of the Pandavas blew their respective conch shells, the Kauravas were trembling with fear. Just imagine, the sounds of righteousness is so powerful that it shatters the evil hearts. But it has not been mentioned that the Pandavas ever got afraid when the Kauravas blew their conch shells. Thus, we can get a lesson that those who are on the path of virtue, those who are the lovers and devotees of Lord Krishna have nothing to fear. No evil power can harm them. Instead, the evils will get afraid as the sound of righteousness would invade the world. Thus ends sloka number 19. Now I am going to explain sloka number 20. Sloka number 20. Atha vyavasthitam drishtva dhartarashtram kapidvaja pravritre shastra sampate dhanur uddamya pandava rishikesham tada vakyam idam aha mahipate. Translation. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. In this sloka, we can observe that Arjuna is sitting in the chariot which is bearing the emblem of Hanumanji. Here, the mention of Hanumanji is significant because Hanuman helped Lord Rama to win the battle with Ravan. Thus, Lord Rama himself is present with Arjuna as Lord Krishna, his eternal devotee. Hanuman is all present, and obviously the goddess of fortune Sita Lakshmi or Srimati Radharani is always blessing them. This auspicious conditions marks an assured victory for Arjuna. Thus, Arjuna is telling something to Krishna which would be made clear in the next verse. Now, shloka number 21 and 22 are also given together, so I will explain them together. Shloka number 21 and 22. Arjuna uvacha senayor ubhayor madhye ratham sthapatya mechyuta yadvat itan niriksheham yodhu kaman avasthitam kyer maya saha yoga yuddhavan asmin rana samyuddhame. Translation. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Here, Krishna has been addressed as Achyuta, which means the infallible one. Here, though Arjuna is sitting in the chariot and Krishna is playing the role of a charioteer, but still Arjuna, out of his eternal love for Krishna, his friend, is talking very politely, calling him the infallible one and asking him to draw the chariot between the two armies. Arjuna wants to see the Kaurava army to get an idea that which warriors have come to fight. As the opponent party, he wants to make an approximation of the strength of the Kauravas. Thus we end this video with shloka number 21 and 22 explanation. From the next verse onwards, I have already told that I will post separate videos. Please subscribe to this channel as the divine conversation between Arjuna and the Supreme Lord is soon going to start. Gradually, we are moving towards the main part of Bhagavad Gita. So, bye, thank you, Radhe Radhe.